Have you ever witnessed a moment of injustice that changed everything? Black woman was instructed to take off her uniform. Then she appeared flying in an F-22 Raptor over the camp. Take off that pilot costume right now. Girl, you don't belong here. Colonel Marcus Whitfield's words echoed through the hangar like a gunshot, causing 150 military personnel to turn and watch the spectacle. Maya Johnson, 28, stood motionless before her superior as her hands trembled, not from fear, but from a controlled rage that boiled like lava about to erupt. The Air Force uniform she had worn with such pride for 6 years suddenly felt like concrete on her shoulders. Every metal on her chest seemed to burn her skin as the looks of disdain pierced her soul. Colonel, with all due respect, my performance on recent missions, Maya tried to argue, but was brutally interrupted. Performance? Whitfield laughed loudly, prompting nervous laughter from his subordinates. Sweetie, you flew a few hours in a simulator and you think that makes you a fighter pilot? This diversity program has gone too far. We're talking about $150 million worth of military equipment, not toys. The humiliation had begun 3 months earlier when Maya was transferred to Langley under the pretext of integrating emerging talent. In reality, she knew she was being used as a propaganda piece, the photogenic young black woman the Air Force could showcase in its recruitment campaigns. What no one there knew was that Maya Johnson wasn't just another promising pilot. Are you ready for a twist that will leave you speechless? Brad Sullivan, son of Senator Sullivan and heir to a pharmaceutical fortune, had set the tone from day one. Look everyone, our new diversity quota has arrived, he had whispered during the first briefing loud enough for Maya to hear. His squadron mates laughed discreetly, some with genuine discomfort, others with thinly veiled approval. Over the past few weeks, Maya had quietly documented every comment, every racial joke, every attempt at sabotage. Her flight equipment mysteriously malfunctioned before important missions. Her flight reports were lost in the system. Her requests for additional flight time were denied without explanation. You know what the problem is with you people, Whitfield continued, his voice dripping with venom. You always think you deserve something special, that the rules don't apply to you, that you can take the place of truly qualified pilots just because, he paused dramatically. Just because it's politically correct. Maya closed her eyes for a moment, remembering the promise she had made to her younger brother before his last classified mission 2 years ago. When I get back, Maya, I'll tell you about places you never imagined exist. About things we do to keep this country safe. He never returned from that mission. Officially, it never happened. I said, take off your uniform now. The colonel's voice rose an octave, and Maya realized she had no choice. The circle of military personnel around her had grown. Some were filming discreetly with cell phones. Others looked away, clearly uncomfortable, but without the courage to intervene. Slowly, she began to remove her rank insignia, the medal she had earned on missions that officially never existed. The Bronze Star for Valor in Combat during an anti-terrorism operation in the Middle East, the Air Medal for 25 combat missions, the Elite Pilot Badge that only 200 people alive possessed. Each piece that fell to the concrete floor sounded like a condemnation. Brad Sullivan recorded everything on his cell phone, his arrogant smile revealing perfectly aligned teeth and a lifetime of unquestioned privilege. Finally, someone had the courage to speak the truth, he muttered to his colleagues. Black women in command of F-22s. What a joke! What none of them noticed was the small smile Maya suppressed when her hands touched the last medal, an unmarked, small, discreet award she had received directly from General Morrison after a mission that required presidential authorization. She held it for an extra moment before placing it on the floor. Maya carefully folded the uniform and placed it on the floor. When she straightened up, her eyes met Whitfield's with a serenity that made some of those present feel uncomfortable. For a brief moment, something in her posture, the way she held her shoulders, the absolute calm of her movements, made the colonel hesitate. Colonel, she said in a steady voice, each word measured with surgical precision. Thank you for showing me exactly who you are. And thank you for reminding me exactly who I am. As she walked toward the exit, each step echoed in the tense silence of the hangar. No one there imagined that they were witnessing the last day of one of the greatest injustices Langley Air Force Base would ever commit. In the pocket of her civilian pants, her cell phone vibrated discreetly. A message from a number that officially did not exist. Package delivered. Authorization confirmed. 72 hours. What those men didn't know was that Maya Johnson carried secrets buried in files so confidential that not even the Pentagon itself admitted their existence. And when someone with her caliber of training is publicly humiliated, the response comes from an altitude that few humans have ever reached. There, in front of all the contemptuous stares, she had maintained her composure like someone guarding a secret too powerful to be revealed before the right time. What none of them could have imagined was that this humiliation had just triggered military protocols that would turn the next few days into a lesson in power that no military manual has ever documented. If you're following this story of injustice and overcoming adversity, don't forget to subscribe to Black Voices, because what happened in the days that followed completely redefined the concept of intelligent revenge in American military history. The next 48 hours were a masterclass in systematic humiliation. The video of Maya's dismissal had spread through military WhatsApp groups like wildfire. Diversity Pilot finally discovered, read the caption Brad Sullivan had added before sharing it with his 500 contacts. Maya drove her 2015 Honda Civic to the apartment she rented off base, where she had lived the two most peaceful years of her adult life. For the first time in decades, no one knew who she really was. Her neighbors knew her as the quiet veteran who worked on civilian aircraft maintenance. A half-truth that allowed her to stay connected to what she loved most without raising suspicion. On the phone, her mother was crying on the other end. "Honey, I saw the video. My God, how could they treat you like that?" Dorothy Johnson had raised 3 children alone in Detroit, working 2 jobs so Maya could take advanced math classes. She knew her daughter was special, but she never knew exactly how special. "Mom, it's okay. This will pass." Maya lied, watching through the window as a black car with government license plates parked discreetly on the corner for 2 hours. Some secrets were too heavy to share, even with those you love most. Meanwhile, at Langley Base, Whitfield celebrated as if he had just won a war. "Did you see how quiet she was?" They knew exactly where she stood, he boasted to a group of officers in the Officers Club. "This inclusion program is a joke. It always has been." Brad Sullivan, still elated from the likes on his viral video, decided that one humiliation wasn't enough. He created an Instagram group called Real Military Pilots and posted a photo of the table where Maya used to sit in the cafeteria with a caption, "Finally, we can eat in peace without diversity quotas." What none of them knew was that every post, every mean comment, every arrogant laugh was being meticulously documented by someone who understood the difference between anecdotal evidence and legal proof. Maya had learned during her years in classified operations that patience was not a weakness. It was the most lethal weapon there was. On Thursday night, she drove to a secluded Denny's on the highway where a 60-year-old man with gray hair was waiting for her in a booth in the back. General Robert Morrison wasn't in uniform, but his military bearing was unmistakable even in civilian clothes. "I'm sorry about all this, Maya. If I could have prevented it," he began, but she cut him off with a gesture. "General, you once told me that sometimes we have to let the enemy expose himself completely before we strike." Whitfield just did exactly that. She slid a folder across the table. 3 years of evidence, systematic discrimination, equipment sabotage, falsified reports, not just with me, but with 17 other minority service members under his command. Morrison opened the folder, his eyes widening with each page. "Jesus Christ, Maya, how did you get all this? You trained me well, General. Always document everything. Always have a plan B. Always think 3 moves ahead." She smiled for the first time in days and always keep the most important cards hidden until the right moment. The general closed the folder, studying the face of the woman who had been his best operative. "What do you need from me?" "Authorization for a demonstration that makes it clear who I really am. Something they can't deny, distort, or bury." Maya paused, her eyes shining with an intensity Morrison recognized. "And I want it to be public enough for the entire Air Force to watch. Maya, you understand that this will expose everything? Your classified operations, your real rank, your missions in the Middle East. You'll never have a normal life again. General, for the last 2 years, I've been pretending to be normal. I woke up, went to work, came home, watched TV like every other person, and you know what I found out? She leaned forward. Normal is overrated. Especially when people like Whitfield use normal to justify prejudice. Morrison nodded slowly. 48 hours. I'll get presidential clearance for a technical demonstration of advanced aerial capabilities. Officially, it will be a test of new flight protocols. Unofficially, he smiled. It will be the end of the career of anyone who underestimated my Ghost Johnson. On Friday morning, Brad Sullivan posted another video on TikTok. This time imitating Maya's voice with all due respect, Colonel, my performance, followed by exaggerated laughter. The video had 50,000 views in 2 hours. Maya watched from her apartment drinking coffee and taking notes in a military notebook. Every view, every toxic comment, every cruel laugh was building her legal defense. More importantly, it was building something much more powerful. Absolute moral justification for what she was about to do. Her cell phone vibrated with a message from a restricted number. Authorization granted. Demonstration scheduled for Monday 0800 hours. Hangar 7. All base personnel will be summoned for mandatory new technology training. Maya smiled, remembering the words her flight instructor had said 15 years ago. When you are absolutely certain of your superiority, you don't need to shout to be heard. You just need to fly. Each new humiliation only strengthened something inside her that her oppressors couldn't see. A silent force fueled by the very injustice they try to impose. What those privileged people didn't know was that every act of contempt was writing their own sentence of defeat, and that Monday would be the day when all the scores would be settled in a way that no military manual had ever documented. Over the weekend, while Brad Sullivan posted more videos mocking quota pilots, Maya was 400 kilometers away at a military base that didn't officially exist on any maps. The Area 51 facility was known for conspiracy theories. But the real conspiracy was happening in the underground hangar where she checked every system on the most advanced F-22 Raptor ever built. "Are you still sure about this, Maya?" asked Captain Rodriguez, the only technician authorized to prepare the aircraft. "Once you get on that machine with a live broadcast, there's no turning back. Your classified identity will become public knowledge." Maya ran her hand along the fighter's fuselage, feeling the cold metal beneath her fingers. "Tony, for the past 2 years, I've been pretending to be just a mechanic. I woke up at 5:30 a.m., worked on commercial airplanes, came home, and watched Netflix like a normal person." She paused, her eyes shining with a familiar intensity. "But you know what I've learned about normal? It's overrated." What no one at Langley Base knew was that Maya Ghost Johnson wasn't just a qualified pilot. She was the only person alive approved to fly military prototypes that cost more than the GDP of some countries. Her classified license included aircraft that appeared in science fiction movies because the public would never suspect they were real. Meanwhile, Whitfield took advantage of the weekend to spread the story of the token pilot among his military contacts. "You guys have to see this," he said, showing the video of the humiliation to fellow officers. "This is what happens when diversity policies go too far. It's a disgrace to the uniform." Brad Sullivan had turned the situation into a personal crusade. He created a hashtag #RealPilotSonly, which was gaining traction on military social media. Finally, someone had the courage to speak the truth, he wrote in a post that received hundreds of likes. Excellence has no color, but incompetence definitely does. What he didn't know was that every post, every snide comment, every smug laugh was being meticulously documented by a team of military lawyers working directly for the Pentagon. Maya had learned during her classified operations that patience was not passivity. It was ammunition being stockpiled for the right moment. On Monday morning, an urgent summons was sent to all military personnel at Langley Base. Mandatory demonstration of new flight technologies. Mandatory attendance in Hangar 7 0800 hours. Full dress uniform. Whitfield frowned as he read the order. "What demonstration is this? No one told me about any technology visit." His assistant just shrugged, equally confused. Brad Sullivan took the opportunity to post another provocation. "I bet they're bringing in some woman pilot to show us how inclusive they are." What a circus! The post received 200 likes in an hour. At 7:45 a.m., Maya parked her Honda Civic in the base parking lot for the last time. On the passenger seat was a folder containing her real military ID, not the sanitized version she used as a mechanic, but the original with mission stamps that would give intelligence analysts sleepless nights. She walked toward Hangar 7, where 300 military personnel were already gathering, all curious about the mysterious demonstration. Whitfield was at the front, clearly annoyed that he hadn't been informed in advance. Brad Sullivan was filming everything on his cell phone, hoping for more material for his social media accounts. "Attention," shouted a sergeant. "Report to General Morrison." The murmuring ceased instantly. General Morrison was a legend. 3 wars, 2 presidential decorations, and a reputation for never wasting time on nonsense. His presence there meant that something extraordinary was about to happen. "Military personnel," his voice echoed through the hangar. "Today you will witness a demonstration of air capabilities that will redefine your concepts of operational excellence." He paused, his eyes briefly meeting Maya's in the crowd. "Prepare to meet one of the greatest legends in American military aviation." Whitfield whispered to a colleague, "Must be some veteran Top Gun pilot." Finally, a real example of competence. Brad Sullivan zoomed in on his cell phone, eager to capture more viral content. Then, the roar of turbines cut through the morning air. The sound was different, higher pitched, more powerful than any fighter jet they had ever heard. Through the huge hangar doors, an impossible silhouette appeared against the blue sky. An F-22 Raptor in demonstration configuration flew over the base at 200 feet, its futuristic lines cutting through the air like a razor. But it wasn't the aircraft that made 300 military personnel hold their breath. It was the absolute precision of the flight, a demonstration of control that turned physics into art. "My God," someone in the crowd murmured. "Who the hell is flying that thing?" Maya smiled discreetly, watching the faces around her shift from casual curiosity to reverent awe. In a few minutes, that entire hangar full of preconceptions would be forced to confront the difference between what they thought they knew and what excellence really meant. The F-22 executed a sequence of maneuvers that left even the most experienced pilots speechless. Perfect rolls at impossible speeds, gravity-defying turns, an aerial dance that seemed more like choreography than a test of equipment. Every movement demonstrated not only technical competence, but an intuitive understanding of the aircraft that transformed machine and pilot into a single entity. Brad Sullivan stopped filming, his cell phone shaking in his incredulous hands. Whitfield tried to maintain his composure, but his eyes betrayed a mixture of amazement and something that was beginning to look like discomfort. "Traffic control to Ghost Zero." The voice crackled over the hangar's loudspeakers. "Request permission to land and report in." Maya closed her eyes for a moment, savoring the irony. In the next few minutes, those same people who had humiliated her would discover that they had spent weeks mocking someone whose military achievements were studied in academies around the world. The difference between underestimating and understanding was about to be demonstrated in a way that no military manual had ever documented. The F-22 Raptor landed with absolute perfection, taxiing toward the hangar where 300 military personnel stood in mesmerized silence. When the cockpit door opened and the pilot removed his helmet, black hair cascaded over her shoulders. "No, it can't be," Brad Sullivan muttered, his cell phone slipping from his hands. Maya Johnson walked to the microphone, each step echoing in the deadly silence. "My name is Lieutenant Colonel Maya Ghost Johnson. For the past 2 years, I have been pretending to be a mechanic to observe how you treat people you consider inferior." Her eyes met Whitfield's directly. "The results have been educational." General Morrison stepped forward. "For those who don't know, Lieutenant Colonel Johnson is the only pilot in history to shoot down 6 enemy aircraft in actual combat. She has 47 decorations, including 2 classified Silver Stars." Whitfield had turned completely pale. "That's impossible. She was just a quota mechanic." "Colonel Whitfield," Maya interrupted, gesturing to a screen that descended from the ceiling. "Over the past 3 months, I have systematically documented every act of discrimination." The first image showed Brad Sullivan posting the video of the humiliation. The second revealed his messages, mocking military quotas. The third showed Whitfield laughing at the situation with other officers. But that's just the beginning. Colonel, you systematically sabotaged the careers of 23 minority service members. You falsified reports. You manipulated evaluations. The screen showed official documents. And you altered medical records to force the retirement of a Latino pilot who outperformed your protégés. Brad Sullivan tried to hide, but Maya found him. Mr. Sullivan, you created hashtags like #RealPilotSonly and posted 47 videos mocking women and minorities in the military. Screenshots appeared on the television. Your videos were seen by 200,000 people. Congratulations. You've become a public figure. The young man was visibly shaking. I was just joking. You weren't serious. Maya laughed humorously. I have 200 pages of legal documentation, systematic discrimination, hostile environment, defamation, cyberbullying, misuse of military resources. General Morrison took the microphone again. Colonel Whitfield, you are charged with misconduct, racial and gender discrimination, and falsification of official documents. Your commission is revoked. Effective immediately. The hangar exploded in murmurs. Whitfield collapsed into a chair, his uniform looking too big for his shrunken body. Mr. Sullivan will be permanently banned from military installations. A criminal investigation will examine your posts as incitement to hatred. Maya approached Whitfield. Colonel, 3 days ago, you said I didn't belong in a military uniform. Today, you found out I'm one of the few people authorized to fly aircraft that cost more than some states' budgets. She faced the crowd. To all of you who laughed, filmed, chose silence in the face of injustice, you have just learned that underestimating someone can be the most expensive mistake of your lives. Brad Sullivan approached her, crying. Please, my father can work this out. No, Maya interrupted him. You had months to choose decency. You chose cruelty. Now live with the consequences. Security officers approached Whitfield. Your escort is here, former colonel. As he was led away, Maya watched the transformed faces around her. Some ashamed, some in awe, all clearly impacted. The power wasn't just in flying an impossible machine, but in proving that excellence transcends prejudice, that dignity conquers arrogance. But something in Maya's determined gaze suggested that today's lesson was only the beginning of much greater changes that would transform not just a military base, but an entire culture that thrived on institutionalized prejudice. 6 months later, Maya was back in the cockpit where she had always belonged. But this time as commander of the new Military Aviation Excellence Academy, a revolutionary program she had created herself. The hangar that had witnessed her humiliation now bore a golden plaque. Lieutenant Colonel Maya Ghost Johnson Training Center. Whitfield had lost everything. His military pension was cut, his benefits revoked, and the investigation revealed 15 years of systematic corruption. He now worked as a night security guard at a shopping mall. His arrogance replaced by the empty stare of someone who finally understood the weight of his choices. Brad Sullivan discovered that privilege without character is a house built on sand. Banned from all military installations, he faced lawsuits that consumed his family's fortune. His viral videos became evidence in court and civilian aviation companies refused to hire him. Toxic aviation influencer was how he was now known on social media. Commander Johnson, said Captain Jennifer Martinez, one of the first graduates of the new program. The first semester results are in. We have the highest pass rate in military history, 98%, and half of the graduates are women and minorities. Maya smiled, watching through the window as a diverse group of cadets practiced maneuvers with the precision she had taught them. Jennifer, do you know the difference between real excellence and privilege in disguise? Excellence reproduces itself, spreads, elevates others. Privilege only protects itself. Maya's program had become a model around the world. Delegations from 23 countries visited Langley to learn her inclusive training methods. The manual she wrote, Leadership Beyond Bias, was required reading at academies globally. Tony Rodriguez, now a colonel and deputy director of the academy, filed a report. Maya, the official invitation just arrived. The president wants you to lead the first military space mission with a 100% diverse crew. History is being made again. What about our former colleagues? Maya asked, referring to the military personnel who had witnessed her humiliation. Half signed up for sensitivity and inclusive leadership training. The other half, well, they're discovering that the world has changed and they've been left behind. Maya walked over to the wall where the photo from that fateful day in the hangar was framed. In the picture, she was holding her uniform on the floor while 300 people looked on. Next to it, a second photo showed the same hangar filled with cadets of all ethnicities, genders, and backgrounds, united by the excellence she had taught them. You know what I learned, Tony? They tried to humiliate me publicly to show that I didn't belong there. But humiliation only works if you believe it. I knew exactly who I was. They were the ones who needed to figure it out. The phone rang. It was her mother, Dorothy, calling from Detroit. Honey, I just saw you on CNN. My heart almost stopped with pride. Do you remember what I always told you? Never let anyone convince you that you're less than you really are. Maya recited, smiling. Exactly. And now the whole world knows how great my daughter really is. That night, Maya received an unexpected message. It was from a 16-year-old black boy in Chicago. Commander, I saw your story on the internet. My dream is to be a military pilot, but everyone says that people like me can't do it. After seeing what you did, I've decided to try. You changed my life without even knowing me. It was the 100th similar message that week. Maya had become a global symbol that excellence transcends prejudice, that dignity overcomes arrogance, and that the best revenge is to build something greater than your oppressors could ever imagine. 2 years later, when Brad Sullivan tried to enlist in the Army as an enlisted soldier, his last chance to rebuild his life, he was rejected. The recruiter, a black veteran, looked at his file and said simply, "We remember you, Sullivan." Character matters. Maya had proven that when you live your truth with excellence, you don't have to destroy your enemies. They destroy themselves while you build legacies that transform generations. True victory, she said in her graduation speech to 200 new pilots, is not making your enemies pay for what they did. It's building a world where the next generation never has to go through what you went through. If this story of transformation and overcoming adversity has touched your heart, subscribe to Black Voices for more stories that prove that excellence always beats prejudice and that sometimes the best revenge is simply being impossible to ignore.